"My name is Hope," she whispered. "I have no father, no mother. I sleep under the tree by the old well. But I saw this in my dream, and I had to stop you." President Traoré looked into her eyes again. She was serious. She was afraid, but she was not lying. He stood up and turned to his guards. "Cancel the journey. We wait here for 2 hours." "Sir?" they all asked in shock. "I said we wait," he shouted. And so the convoy stopped, right there on the lonely road, under the trees, with a 5-year-old girl as their only reason. The president sat back in his car, not reading anymore. He looked out the window. "I must be mad," he said quietly to himself, "but something tells me she's not." 2 hours began. The sun was now higher in the sky, beating down on the black vehicles parked in the middle of nowhere. Time was moving slowly like a wounded snail. President Ibrahim Traoré sat in his car, eyes fixed on the ticking clock. 30 minutes had passed. He was losing his patience. His phone rang again. It was his assistant answering another call from the international business team. "Mr. President," the assistant said nervously, "they are calling again." President Traoré snatched the phone. "Hello?" A foreign voice came through, sharp and direct. "Your Excellency, are you still coming? This delay is becoming disrespectful. If we don't see you in the next 90 minutes, we will assume you're not interested and give this multi-billion-dollar deal to another African country." President Traoré's face tightened. "Please, I am on my way. Just a little delay." "You have 60 minutes left," the voice snapped. "After that, the deal is gone." The call ended. The guards gathered around him, confused and angry. One of them stepped forward. "Your Excellency, what is this? Is this an assassination setup? What if that girl was sent by your enemies to delay you?" Another said, "Let's leave this place now before something bad happens. You are the president. You must not be controlled by a street child." The president clenched his jaw. He was boiling inside. He stepped out of the car again and stormed toward the little girl, who was now sitting quietly on a stone by the roadside, looking at the sky. "You!" he shouted. "I'm tired. I want to leave right now." Hope stood up slowly, still calm. "Please wait." "No!" he barked. "You have no right to stop me. You are too small to command a president. Who do you think you are?" The guards were watching. His assistant was watching. Even the birds in the trees seemed to go silent. President Traoré's voice dropped to a bitter tone. "I blame myself for even listening to you in the first place. I am a man of power and wisdom. How did I become so foolish to stop because of a dream?" Hope looked into his eyes, unshaken. She took a deep breath, then said something that made everyone freeze. "Even a lion pauses when the antelope refuses to run." Silence. The wind blew gently through the trees. What do you mean?" the president asked slowly. Hope stepped forward. "You are the lion, strong, powerful, feared. But sometimes danger does not come like thunder. It comes quietly, like an antelope that does not run. And when the lion attacks, it falls into a trap." The president's heart skipped a beat. She continued, her voice soft but piercing. "A big man who refuses to listen to a small warning becomes the loudest cry in the graveyard." One of the guards gasped. Another whispered, "This girl, she is no ordinary child." President Traoré felt a chill crawl up his spine. He looked around. Nothing seemed wrong, but something inside him began to shake. Hope looked down at her feet, then said, "If I was lying, would I have stood here in the sun, without food, without shoes to stop you? I have nothing, but I have this warning, and I gave it to you." The president stepped back slowly. His breathing had changed. He turned to his guards. "We wait. Full stop." No one argued this time. They spread out and secured the area. Some sat under trees. Some stood, weapons ready. Others whispered to each other about the strange girl with parables stronger than bullets. Inside the president's car, he sat quietly. His heart was heavy. His mind was running wild. He looked out the window again, and there she was, Hope, still sitting on the stone, staring into the sky like she was waiting for something to fall from it. He leaned back in his seat and closed his eyes. The last parable echoed in his head like a bell. A big man who refuses to listen to a small warning becomes the loudest cry in the graveyard. 2 hours had passed. The president's convoy was still parked by the roadside, in the shade of tall trees. Everyone was tense. The guards stood on high alert. No one was laughing anymore. No one was rushing. All eyes kept going back to the small girl called Hope, who had somehow brought a whole presidential journey to a stop. President Traoré sat in his car, silent. He had not spoken since Hope gave that last parable. His heart was uneasy. Doubts and thoughts danced in his mind like shadows. Then the call came. His assistant picked up the phone, then froze. "Sir," he said, his voice shaking, It's from the National Emergency Team." "Put it on speaker," the president said quickly. A voice filled with panic and sorrow came through the speaker. "Your Excellency, there has been a terrible accident just 40 minutes ahead of your route." The entire convoy went silent. "Tell me exactly what happened," the president demanded. "Sir, a petrol tanker lost control on the highway and exploded. The fire spread instantly to more than 40 vehicles behind and in front of it. Buses, cars, bikes, all gone in flames. It happened about an hour ago, just about the time you would have passed there." Everyone gasped. The emergency team continued. "Sir, no one survived, not even one person. All passengers, drivers, and passers-by are gone." Tears welled up in the eyes of the guards. The assistant dropped the phone and sat on the floor. President Traoré slowly stepped out of his vehicle. His legs were weak. His face was pale. He looked at Hope. She was still sitting on the same stone, quiet, still, like nothing had happened. But something had happened. Something big. He walked toward her slowly, like a man in a dream. The guards followed silently behind him. When he reached her, he knelt down on one knee. The president of a whole country, on his knees before a barefoot little girl. He looked at her and whispered, "You saved my life." Hope looked up. "It was not me. It was the dream I was given." He shook his head. "You could have ignored it. You could have stayed in the bush, but you stepped out. You stood in front of moving cars. You stood in front of me, a man everyone fears." "I was afraid too," she replied quietly, "but I was more afraid of what would happen if I didn't speak." The president bowed his head. "How many children your age would do that?" The guards were now wiping tears from their eyes. The assistant whispered to another guard, "She is not an ordinary girl. This is divine." President Traoré took Hope's tiny hand in his big one and looked at her with tears in his eyes. "Hope," he said gently, "from this day, your name will not just be Hope, it will be my hope. The hope of Burkina Faso, the hope that saved her leader." The convoy moved again, but this time slowly and thoughtfully. The road back to the capital felt different, quiet, heavy. The guards sat still in their cars. The assistant stared out the window. Everyone was thinking the same thing. We would have died today, if not for that little girl. Hope sat beside President Ibrahim Traoré in the back seat. Her head leaned against the soft cushion, her small hands folded on her lap. She looked out the window as the trees passed by, not knowing what her bravery had truly done. When they finally reached the presidential villa, the gates opened and the convoy drove in. The palace staff rushed out to welcome the president, but froze when they saw the girl holding his hand. No one asked questions yet. Inside, the president called for an emergency staff meeting. His top officials, media team, guards, and assistants all gathered in the grand hall. Hope stood beside him, wearing the same torn dress, her face tired, her feet dusty, but the room was silent. Then the president stepped forward. "I want everyone to stop what they are doing," he said firmly. "What I'm about to say is not politics. It's not government work. It's not for cameras. It is life and death." He looked at them all. "Today, I was on my way to a very important meeting, a meeting that could have brought billions to our country. I had waited long for it. My convoy was moving smoothly. All was well. Then suddenly, a 5-year-old orphan girl stepped out of the bush and stood in front of our moving convoy." Gasps filled the hall. The president nodded slowly. "She told us to stop. She said we should wait 2 hours. We didn't believe her. We tried to send her away.